Welcome to the Montana Fish and Hang with United Way on the Fly. It's our Q&A session. Excited to share all of this information, and I'm excited to meet all of you in Montana at the end of June. We're going to do a quick overview. Kind of the idea behind this Q&A is that we wanted to compile all of the information and thought of all of the questions that you all might have had for this specific event and put it in a presentation so that way kind of puts you at ease and you have a couple of months to prepare for the actual weekend. We're going to just go through introductions. We have a lot of incredible local women to kind of the local West Yellowstone, Madison, Gallatin, Henry's Fork area that have been included in this presentation. My name's Heather Hodson. I've met most of you. I go by the pronouns she, her, hers, and I live in Spokane, Washington. I am founder of United Way on the Fly and founder of Fly Fish Instruct, and also founded Spokane Women on the Fly way, way long ago. And that's how I've met probably most of you all way before even United Way on the Fly started. So I am beyond excited to bring this kind of format to West Yellowstone and just empower and embrace women and shop local and just, introduce the amazing Yellowstone country. So Alice, I don't know if Alice is on yet. Once she hops on, she said she was running late, so we can have her introduce herself when she gets on. But I saw Aurora. Aurora, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Aurora. Currently, I'm in Bozeman, Montana, but in the summer, early summer, April, I moved to Ennis for the guide season.
Awesome. Well, and who do you work for?
Madison River Fishing Company.
Is driving to Texas, so I don't believe she's on, but she is working for the Gallatin River Guide. I've been following, kind of orbiting her for the last 3 years and just watching her journey of becoming a guide and what that experience has been like. So I'm really excited that she's a part of this weekend as well.
Carly, living in Bozeman, just moved from Big Sky, and I guide for Gallatin River Guides as well. And I agree, watching Christiana is just absolutely, it's just been really amazing watching her. And I run the Montana Women's Fly Fishing School currently.
It's been really fun to watch journeys like this because it's encouraging to other women that we can be those people. We can be guides, we can share our knowledge. So it's so fun to watch, everyone join and get into that.
Yes. Hello. I'm Dinah. Yeah, I work for Big Sky Anglers now in West Yellowstone. I'm currently still in New York. I'm a full-time student, so I'm wrapping up my degree and then I'll be out in West.
So my name is Kara Tripp. I own Damsel Fly Fishing. I'm also a licensed outfitter out of Montana. I live in Belgrade, and I run boats on the Yellowstone, Madison, walkway trips on the Gallatin, some floating on the lower, and the Missouri. And then I also have a brand, a small accessory line that my sister Lene and I built together called Damsel Fly Fishing. So yeah, I'm going to be joining you guys here in Montana in June. So
awesome. Can't wait.
Hi, I used to guide for Trout Hunter and I technically still do, but I am a full-time rep now. So I live over in Island Park on the Henry's Fork, which is just the neighbor watershed to West Yellowstone. So not too far away from where you guys will all be. And now I'm repping full-time. So I really don't have very many days to guide anymore, but I'm happy to be here and help you guys get excited about coming to visit some maybe familiar water, but hopefully some new water too. There's a lot of cool stuff around us.
So Christy met her actually probably 10 years ago through the Fly Fishers International at one of the different conventions that they had in Livingston. So she's a casting instructor. I believe she's based out of Livingston. She really focuses more on private lessons and more on that educational based as far as her guiding goes. So focusing more on you becoming a better, more confident and competent angler on the water. And Nicole works for Big Sky Anglers. And I actually met Nicole on the water probably 2018. Pretty incredible woman guide as well. And just happy that she is a part of this weekend also. Pretty cool to see that there are so many women in this area. And, one of the biggest things with this, fly, fish and hang kind of format is, first and foremost, we really wanted it to be budget friendly. And that's kind of how, as you have probably noticed, how it's kind of developed, where it's more of a DIY fishing focus, where people can lodge wherever they want. They can camp, they can get a cabin, they can get a hotel. And West Yellowstone's nice because it has a lot of different lodging options, but also you can DIY fish, you can get a guide, you can rent a boat. There's a lot of options as well, kind of in this West Yellowstone area. And we'll talk more about geography and the area. Really where fish and hang came from, I know some of you were some of the original people of the original Missouri River kind of fish and hang events. And this was the same kind of format. And this happened, so this is probably our 7th year that we've been doing formats like this. And we were on the Mo for 3 years. And then COVID happened, of course. And then now we're kind of have decided to move it all over the country because it's such a fun format. It's accessible and affordable for most anglers. And so it's been fun to try to connect with other women guides, connect with other local businesses throughout the area, and showcase certain areas that can handle high pressure. And that's one of the biggest things too, is making sure that we're conservation minded and that we have enough water that we can bring people there, but there's enough fisheries that we're not going to overfish a specific area. And really, I'm sure some of you know our dear friend, Rachel Finn, and really her slogan is, it's all about the hang. And so that's really where fish and hang came from, is just hanging out, right? And, all of these events are gender inclusive. So it's not just women, but so spouses and partners and friends and brothers and whoever, everyone's welcomed. But really the idea behind this is that we really want to have women, and especially women that may not, have that community yet, feel welcomed into an area or a group of people and community to where then they can find those anglers or those, friends of a lifetime. So that's kind of the whole idea behind all of this. As far as location goes, I'm sure many of you have heard of Yellowstone National Park. West Yellowstone is just on the west end of that area. It's about an hour and a half from Bozeman, and I'll talk a little more about as far as, how far everything is, but it's far away from a lot of things, but it's close to a lot of things as well. As I mentioned, Yellowstone Park, a little land acknowledgement. So Yellowstone Park is on the traditional lands of the Shoshone tribal area. And wherever I visit, I always try to look up some of the history as far as who were the first peoples that were on the land that I'm fishing on, and able to experience that. So there's a link here for if you all are interested as far as learning more about that. As far as location goes, again, southern Montana, it's the gateway to Yellowstone National Park. And really, we chose these dates because of its location. So June is a great time for potentially salmon flies, green drakes. There's a lot of top water action, hopefully, that we'll be able to experience. And there's a lot of fisheries within that area. You can fish in the park, and we'll show more maps of this, but there's the Madison, the Gallatin, the Yellowstone, and also Henry's Fork. So there's a lot of fisheries kind of in this area. As far as travel goes, you could fly into West Yellowstone. I'm sure many of you might be driving. It's a great time of year to take a road trip. So from Bozeman, it's about 2 hours, and it's going to be one of the most beautiful drives you've ever done if you are flying into Bozeman and driving down. Idaho Falls, about 2 hours. Jackson, about 3. For me, Spokane, it's 7.5 to 8 hours, basically. So it's a day's drive, but it's, as I was saying before we even started, Yellowstone is my most favorite place on the world. Like, it is truly a really magical, special place. And the fishing's just the cherry. As far as area resources, and all of this is going to be provided to you. Again, you'll get an example, or you'll get the copy of this presentation. So this is all clickable links. So there's a Fish Montana river map. Also, we're trying to find a bunch of resources for you, blog links, to help you kind of do that work to prepare yourself for this specific weekend. So there's a ton of different info out there, and feel free to just kind of start to work your way through all of this different information. I'm sure many of you have been on the Facebook group, or if you're not, feel free to join. And this is where really a lot of that information is going to be shared. So especially once the event starts, we'll post announcements and everything within the Facebook group. There is fairly decent reception in West Yellowstone. There's decent reception in Ennis, some in Island Park. It's kind of spotty throughout. So just know that we'll be sending emails, but then also once the event starts, this is where all the announcements are going to happen, is in the Facebook group. If you haven't signed up for our weekend emails kind of list, feel free to do that. You can sign up for it on our Eventbrite list. It's just an email list, and we'll just be sending out some just basic information about the Montana event. And, this is a free event. We are not, United Women Will Fly is not charging for that. We make no money off of this event. And so really, in order, or kind of a way that we can help recoup some of the cost to host these budget-friendly events, is by selling some of our swag. So we have hats for sale. We also have new shirts, I Fish, I Belong shirts, and we have 8 different styles, all very inclusive to sizing, so extra small all the way up to 4X, and that all proceeds are going to go back again to just helping with the cost of hosting this specific event. So if you're interested in helping us out, we'll have shirts and everything to sell there, but you can also pre-order, so that way you get the specific size, specific color, and whether you want women's or unisex. And again, why did we select June? We did because really it's the best fishing in this specific area. And so you don't have to drive very far per se from West Yellowstone to get to some good water. As far as the itinerary for the whole weekend, it's everyone is arriving. I'm sure many of you will probably be arriving earlier than Friday, but really things start to kick off on Friday, June 23rd. Arrive and then DIY fish. We're in the works of working on a location to do a happy hour on Friday night, and that location will be announced in the Facebook group, or if I know the details ahead of time, I'll make sure that I put it in an email as well. On Saturday, it's all DIY fishing and exploring. I did reserve the pavilion in West Yellowstone. It's the city park. So we have the pavilion basically all day. I put 7 p.m. I'll probably have probably be there at 6 to 10 p.m. And if you're late or you don't show up because the fishing's good, that's awesome. We get it. So, but as far as the pavilion goes, it's really, bring something if you want to share to eat, mocktails. So unfortunately, the city park is no alcohol beverages, but there's lots of places to go afterwards if that is what you want to do. We'll have some casting and really just hanging out. And again, this whole, all of these different happy hours as well as events in the park is just gender inclusive. So everyone is welcome. Whoever comes with you, bring them. So yeah, we just want to build and create and continue this amazing community of welcomeness and inclusivity. And then on Sunday, DIY fish and depart. So basically you're out on your own during the day, and then we'll have different events throughout the evenings. Now, I do know that there's a lot of people are camping out at the Madison campground on the Madison River. And that's it's a decent drive. It's about 45 minutes or so, maybe a little bit longer to come in. So if you don't make Friday night, that's okay. I get it. We'll see each other out on the river. We're going to be taking over this entire area. So I know that there's probably at least 20 women camping at the campground. So if you're a single and you don't know anybody and you're camping there, you're going to be, you'll be just fine. As far as meals go, so Friday night, again, we'll have some sort of happy hour location to be announced. And then Saturday, if you want, bring an appetizer to share, and then just come hang out, get to know each other. And we'll have some casting and some other stuff, but really it's just a time to mingle and get to know each other. I'm sure we all we all need that human touch because we've lost it for the last 3 years. And then as far as camping goes, so trying to make this as budget friendly as we can. So we've given a bunch of suggestions as far as different campgrounds within the area. So there's a lot of camping in the area. Both you can do, there's private campgrounds, RV locations, as well as state parks and everything too. Any of the national park right there. So with education, really within these events, our main focus is community education and providing resources. So throughout this entire weekend and even, the next 2 months up until this event, feel free to please just utilize the Facebook group, ask questions. There are no dumb questions. So ask if you're not sure about a leader, you don't know about a knot, about the bugs, about the location. How do you fish? How do you Eurofish, Euronymph? How do you swing a soft tackle? Don't be afraid to ask all of those questions. We want to help you and empower you to just become a better angler. Also, anybody that is coming to the Fish and Hang, I'm offering a free 2-hour course to live summer trout fishing techniques. So that's going to be on Monday, May 1st. And so anybody that's a part of this, you all are invited. There's a coupon code in the email. And if you haven't received that, just reach out to me and I can send you the coupon code. But I want to, again, give you all the details about how to fish for trout and having some fishing techniques. So that way you're more prepared to when you come out. And again, that's free for anybody that comes to a Fish and Hang event. DIY fishing, as said, it's all DIY fishing unless you are opting to get a guide. And I know that several of the women guides that we had just introduced do have maybe some time or some availability. Some are already booked, but all of that information is listed on the website. And speaking of the website, so we have provided, if you go to the Fish and Hang /West Yellowstone, there's a couple of spots on this specific page that has where you can download a PDF. And so it's going to have all of this information listed. So my suggestion is to download it, put it on your phone, print it out if you want to, or just take screenshots and it will be nice. It'll be really handy for the entire weekend. And it'll have links and everything I'm talking about. Lots and lots of DIY fishing blogs. So just go and, feel free to click on any of those links. And as far as fishing licenses go, so there's 3 different licenses based on where you're going to be fishing. If you're going to be fishing the Henry's Fork, so that is in Idaho, so you'll need an Idaho license. If you're going to be fishing Montana, so the Madison, the Gallatin, potentially the Yellowstone, or some of the other outlying areas, so that would be a Montana fishing license. If you're going to be fishing in Yellowstone, you'll also need a Yellowstone license. So 3 different licenses potentially that you might have. And again, get the licenses that you need. And we've provided links, so it makes it easier for you to purchase all of those licenses. As far as regulations, there's a lot of regulations in Montana, in Yellowstone, as well as in Idaho. And so I try to do a bunch of research to try to get all of the different regulations for each specific area of the park. And I'll ask definitely the women for your input in here. But do know that felt-soled footwear is prohibited in Yellowstone National Park. So you cannot wear felt boots. So definitely keep that in mind. Make sure that you have some Vibram sole or some sole other than felt. As far as regulations for all the women that are a part of it, is there any other regulations that you can think off the top of your head that I know we can do research, but is there anything other than like felt soled or anything else that you can think of that we should talk about or at least state?
Heather, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Barbless. Did you already talk about that?
No, but yeah.
Inside the park, right, Carly? We can't have any barbs. At all.
Barbless in the park, and then sorry, go ahead.
Nope. Just one more thing on the barbless. When we mean barbless, you have to you should be able to run your hook through your clothing and back it out without it catching on anything. Like it can't like snag on your clothing, if that makes any sense. So like
And
truly,
they'll come test you. Like they'll come check it out and make sure you're truly barbless. So just try to be barbless. And then the fishing licenses is the only kind of funny thing, which you already went over, but Yellowstone has its own for the park. But if you're fishing outside of the park, you need a whatever state you're in license as well. So you almost have to have 2 licenses, but the Yellowstone Park is really affordable.
Yeah.
And then there's sometimes closures on certain rivers, but that we won't really know until we're there. And there most likely won't be any by the time you guys are there.
And if there's other things that happen, we can definitely keep an eye out on the Facebook group. So we'll keep that information rolling. And the one thing I'll say too about barbed hooks and barbless is that being an advocate for keep fish wet. So the number one injury of fish is actually a hook injury. So if you do and are choosing to practice catch and release, and most of the fisheries that you will be fishing is catch and release only, then there's no reason to not fish barbless, I guess is what I'm saying. So if you're practicing catch and release, and if the number one injury is a hook injury, it's always best to be best for the fish to just pinch the barbs down. So and do the clothing test. I've actually been tested on that. Thank goodness I had good chemos that actually could pinch it down all the way. So definitely that's a great suggestion. Thank you. Yep.
This is more for like an outfitter deal, or if you're a guide going into the park, you have to have your safe server certificate.
Yeah.
So if I was outfitting that, I would ask the guides working for me to make sure they have that if they're going to serve any type of food. So that's like weird thing.
One. And I believe at least we're required to have our licenses showing, like almost hanging off of you. If you don't, I didn't know, show them your license. It's not a big deal.
Okay. And do the licenses have to be printed, or can they be a screenshot on your phone?
Well, I
think either.
Okay.
Because Montana Fish and Wildlife has the app, so you can have your license on your phone for that. And I think screenshot for Yellowstone.
Perfect.
I know that your park license is now through that government portal, right?
Okay.
So you have to go into the government side of things, look for the park that you're recreating in, and then select what kind of recreation you're doing, which is fishing in Yellowstone National Park, and then get your license that way. You can't walk into any of the fly shops in West Yellowstone and get a Yellowstone National Park license anymore. It's all 100% online.
Okay, perfect. And what I'll do is I'll make sure that again, before we send out this PDF of the presentation, that I'll do all the research to make sure it's all listed in there. And also we'll share it in the Facebook group. So that way everybody has all the appropriate links and everything. So cool.
Yeah, I had a person last year because she couldn't get it in a fly shop.
Okay. Yeah.
And then and that's important too, because if you go to Yellowstone, there is no Wi-Fi or service anywhere for the majority of it. So if you're I'm just going to go camp here and then I'm going to order my license, you really want to have that stuff buttoned up while you're in civilization before you step anywhere in and around Montana, really, because service is pretty spotty.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Also, making sure that you have Google Maps open. And if you've already opened it and especially if you have no service. Sometimes if you hit directions go to while you have service, it'll still keep it going. So those are all great suggestions, especially so that way you can get to the right location. And we've provided a bunch of links too, as far as all of the maps go. So even if you don't want to print anything out, I would suggest screenshotting it. So at least it's good enough quality that you can, zoom in. And so that way you have the maps to be able to look at. So, and even downloading like a PDF on your phone for all of the regulations, especially for the parks as well. So, as mentioned, we have a ton of women guides, which is so rad to see. I'm so happy to see you all. And again, that you are a part of this. This is really cool. So again, if you are considering hiring a guide, definitely think about supporting and empowering women and, reach out to any of these amazing women. Lots and lots of local fly shops. And I kind of did fly shops in the entire area, right? So in Ennis, in Island Park, over up on the Gallatin, everywhere. So there are a lot of fly shops that you can go into, and you'll just you walk in and develop those relationships. And I'm sure many of you already have specific shops that is your community. There's a lot of women groups kind of in this area-ish. So Missoula's a little bit far away from this, but I thought I'd include them because there are some women that are coming from Missoula Fly Gals. There's actually women that are coming from Spokane Women on the Fly, but Freestone Ladies Club, that is up in the Bozeman area, and then Montana Fly Gals is up in the Bozeman area. Idaho Women on the Fly is kind of in the Pocatello area, so not too far. So there's a lot of women's groups. So you could always reach out to those women's groups as well. And if you're trying to make, fishy friends or fishy plans. And I'm just seeing right here, there's a Sarah on the chats. I'm looking for a person to split a guided trip. So my suggestion is definitely, if nobody, Sarah, responds in the chat, then just put that in the Facebook group too, because there's going to be a lot of women that are going to want to share and split some of the expenses. As far as fish species goes, so definitely some different species that we can catch: brook trout, brown trout, grayling, rainbow trout, Yellowstone cutthroat, whitefish. So you have a lot of options and a lot of different fishing. I'm going to go through the equipment, and once I'm done, if you all that are here have any other suggestions of anything else, I would love to, kind of my idea with this whole DIY section, especially with all of the lead local women, is just kind of put your input in as well. So, and then we'll go through all of your fly suggestions also. So as far as equipment goes, 4 to 6 weight rods, average 9 feet. Usually, most on average, a weight forward floating line should be sufficient. You can throw streamers, you can nymph fish with that. You can even high stick, do some kind of naked fishing with just a normal, weight forward floating line. 9 foot, 4 to 6X leaders, all kind of based on, and we'll give some leader examples, but based on the size flies that you're going to be throwing as well. And then 9 foot, 4 to 6X tippet spools. As far as safety, obviously a first aid kit, definitely bring water and snacks. It is going to be the summer, but as a critical care nurse, I will tell you that hypothermia is real and it happens in the summer. So be very mindful of taking care of yourself. If you do fall in the water, having a change of clothes is really important. I know because I fall in the water all the time because I'm super clumsy. And so I use a wading staff everywhere I go. So definitely a wading staff, old pole, old ski pole, a stick, whatever, something just to, for safety wise. As far as, is there any other equipment that you all just kind of tackle or anything that you would recommend, or is that sufficient?
I think that looks great, Heather.
Cool. Clothing, always bring a rain jacket. So it might rain on us. So always bring a rain jacket, dress in layers. Montana can be really cold. So this could be really, really warm while we're there, but you also might be wearing a beanie and gloves. So, make sure that you are prepared for all climates. Boots and waders are recommended, if in June it might be warm. So if you're floating on a boat, you might actually be wet wading in some quick dry pants and a sun shirt. But I would say if you do have boots and waders, to bring those with you. And again, boots, think about Vibram no felt soles. Polarized sunglasses, obviously to protect your eyeballs, but also so we can see the fish better. Lots of places to fish. Oh my. So here's West Yellowstone, and basically you have options for still water, you have options for lots and lots of rivers. So basically if we're here, you have the whole national park, which is here, the Gallatin, which is going to be flowing down into this area. You have the Madison, which is going to be over in kind of Ennis area. You have Henry's Fork, so you have Henry's Lake, and then Island Park. Henry's Fork is going to be all the way here. It goes all the way down. And then if you Gardner River and the Yellowstone, they're way up there, but it's kind of runoff time for those rivers. So really kind of sticking to our specific area is going to be best. Other places to fish, just some of the nearby rivers that are listed is going to be Firehole, Gallatin, kind of within the park, the Gibbon, Henry's Fork, the Lamar River, Madison, Yellowstone, and Yellowstone Lake. So there's a lot of places to fish. Yellowstone hatches. So again, we're going to be there in June. And as you can see, there's a lot of different types of insects, and we're going to talk and give a lot of our different fly suggestions, but really, I guess, familiarizing yourself with a specific hatch chart. And you don't have to have every single, fly that we suggest or every single type of insect that you see on this specific hatch chart, but having a good idea as to what's going to be hatching. Again, there'll definitely be some caddis flying around, hopefully some green drakes, fingers crossed, potentially some maybe salmon flies, golden stones, maybe yellow sallies, maybe pale morning duns, maybe some flavs. So there's going to be a lot of insects, hopefully, where we're able to have some topwater action. And as far as different techniques, lots and lots of different techniques: dry dropper, subsurface, Euro, streamers, and we're going to get into all of the leaders. But first, I want to get into kind of the fly suggestions. So this is just my fly suggestions, and then we're going to go through each local woman's fly suggestions. So definitely salmon fly patterns, Hendrickson's, Quill Gordon's, some Adams, pale morning duns, even having some blue wing olives. If you have a slightly bigger, they might potentially pass for a flavolina. Always midge patterns. Midges hatch 365 days a year. So always having some zebra midges in your fly box is a good idea. Caddis, green drakes, and definitely both subsurface, your emerger patterns, your green drake cripples, your green drake dries, your adults, as well as your spinners. Have green drakes of every single stage of their life. Terrestrials, definitely. It might be a little early for season, but definitely having some sort of ants, beetles, having something in your box as well. And then Aurora, you're first. So you want to talk about your fly suggestions? Hi, Rooster.
He just loves women, right?
Yes, I was very specific in mine. I realized now.
I can sit at the table with a bunch of fat white dudes that didn't catch any permit today and listen to how good they are at it. Or I can convert with all y'all. So I'm in.
Oh my God. Okay. Sorry, ladies. I'm going to have him go get me another cocktail. Bye, Rooster.
Adios.
Oh my God. He can't help himself. He can't help it.
All right, Aurora.
So yeah, I was a little bit more specific on the fly suggestions. These are just like very specific flies that I use for clients and work pretty well throughout the whole season. So hopefully we do get to see some salmon flies, but we do have a pretty big snowpack this year. So it might get pushed into early July or might not happen at all, but if it does, Henry's Fork salmon fly is one of my favorite patterns that we use. Works really well, but you could honestly not go too wrong with any. My main nymphs, the silver lightning bug, yellow spot, and a peacock perdigon, those three work for me like pretty much all summer long. Besides like early June, obviously, but I love those. Those are my go-to. I buy as much of them as I can. And then the double articulated green dungeon, that one is awesome, especially during runoff. And then going into late August to September. And then for clients, I like to use like a silver and black sparkle minnow in like just a couple different colors and sizes. And then Sculpzilla, which I saw in one of your pictures in the beginning. Love that one. We have a lot of sculpin in the Madison River, and the big fish love eating it. So that is one of my favorite streamers to fish. You could go as super small, or you can do kind of a bigger one. And then of course, like terrestrials, like tan sweetgrass hopper. That one is my favorite. That is kind of later in the summer, but and then a tan and pink water walker.
Awesome.
Usually a smaller one. Yeah.
Thank you. Perfect. And Carly, what about your flies?
Hi. Yeah, mine's pretty streamlined as well, and kind of pretty like general and minimalist. I generally guide on the Gallatin and Upper Madison. I think in those times when you're transitioning from runoff to summer, and there's just this point where there's like these few weeks when, yeah, like you don't know if the salmon flies are going to hit or not. Like you just can't really predict exactly when that runoff's going to end. And the last few years, it's kind of been a little wonky. So I always can like pretty much count on the Pat's rubber leg, and I like to fish it with either the black or the coffee pattern and any variation of that. You also have a lot of things hatching. A soft hackle pheasant tail is great. You can go with the classic pheasant tail. I've been experimenting a lot with black with like maybe like a red collar or pink collar, just something to give a little bit of attraction there. TJ Hooker is a baller on the Gallatin, and yeah, I love running the TJ Hooker. I usually fish a dropper rig with a tag, so I typically have that as my dropper as well. And again, like any color in that works. I've been varying the colors a lot. I actually have my bag, so like you could do like a wine with a yellow there. I've been running that one. Then you can do your classic coffee as well. And then Upper Madison, if you're it's probably going to be clear at that time, but if it's not, then I like to go with the leech patterns as well. The leech was just amazing for me a couple of days ago. Actually, I was having a good time with that. The true salmon fly is a go-to for mine as well. The fire starter, we talked about the zebra midge, the black zebra midge, very specific, the black zebra midge with the copper bead and the copper ribbing like that if it's a tungsten bead, even better. One thing that I think about, especially with fishing the Upper Madison, and it's different for every guide, right? But my program is like, it's cold in the morning, like fish those midges in the morning. And then as it warms up a little bit more, like go to the caddis. So it warms up a little bit more, maybe try your mayflies. But I'm typically starting with that black zebra midge in an 18 or 20. PMDs. Yeah, we're going to start seeing the PMDs come out, and that's so exciting when that happens. So the PMD pullover. I also wanted to add the peaches and cream in there. I forgot to add that on there. And yeah, the peaches and cream is awesome. Specifically the one at the slide, the one that they tie is like, it's just, I love that one. I can't find it anywhere else. And then the shop back for your caddis pattern.
Awesome. Cool. And Christiana, I know that she's driving to Texas. So again, just the zebra midges hatch 365 days a year. So having that. And now I know we need to have, it's the copper, right? The copper, the beaded And
Can you tell we guide in the same
yeah, no, I
places,
love it.
looking at
Yeah,
this
that's
list?
awesome. Lightning bug, rubber legs. So I noticed with Carly that unweighted. So Carly, what do you like, weighted or unweighted rubber legs, or is it just dependent on based on the water that you're fishing?
Yeah, it's really based on it's based on the water and where I think those fish are. So if I think that those stoneflies are starting to make their way to the edges, then I'm probably going to start off with no weight to see if they'll just, very subsurface. But I would say, like, I mean, you typically start most things with no weight, and then I like to drop it down. But to be honest, after I get to know where I'm fishing, like, I know my spots that I will just have a bead on it. Like, I just know, and that's the fun part about going fishing a lot. Is, you get to know your program until you don't.
Exactly. Until it changes, don't want to eat. Lots of caddises, again, caddis emergers. You're going to have some mayfly emergers, elk hair caddis, parachute Adams. You can't go wrong with the parachute Adams of every single color. Don't overthink it. Parachute Adams will work for most circumstances, especially when there's some mayflies hatching. $3 dip, beadhead caddis, caddis larva, paragons of any color, and then salmon flies. Dinah, what about your suggestions?
What do we got here? So yeah, the sparkle done like blue wing olives or PMDs. I like anything with deer hair, and I really like to fish dries just personally. So that's why I kind of did most of the beginning ones, just caddis, because that's pretty consistent all through the summer. So, if you like to fish dries, you can, get away with always throwing a caddis, really. The iris caddis specifically, you can almost fish it like an emerger, just a little bit more subsurface. Like, you can let it get wet if it starts sinking a little, like that'll be fine. The spent partridge caddis is really, really good on the Henry's Fork too. I like to fish that a lot down there. And the bubbleback caddis, kind of the same, like emerger style, but still dry. Razorback salmon fly is my favorite salmon fly pattern. Again, deer hair. It just floats like a cork. And, if you drop a Pats underneath of that, that's always a good setup. And you can kind of get away with a little bit bigger of a Pats rubber legs that time of year. Cause they're going to like this, salmon flies are just going to start coming off. Any bullet quill really works well. I love the olive ones. 16 to 18, maybe a 14. And then a jig Duracell. Everyone that I know is very controversial over a silver beadhead or a copper beadhead. I have always gone to with a copper beadhead. I don't know why, but it's gotten me through. And just a CDC pheasant tail nymph, or just a regular like jig style pheasant tail works too.
Awesome, thank you. And Carly, tell us about your flies. And now that you're the Umpqua rep, I mean, this Henry's Fork stone, I've caught fish all over the world with that fly. That is my go-to dry fly.
Love it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see a lot of Umpqua flies up there on the board, but I for those who don't know Umpqua, we're kind of the behind the scenes, the flies, leader tippet boxes. But these are some of my favorite patterns. Down on the Henry's Fork is only 40 minutes away from where you guys will be. And the water temperatures are a little bit warmer there. So we get a lot of our hatches earlier. So you guys are really set up Heather couldn't have picked a better weekend. You have so many different opportunities to go fish, different water. You're going to stay heavily entertained. There's amazing hatches going on. And so mine are more specific to the Henry's Fork because that's mostly where I was. But that is the prime week for green drakes. Salmon flies are actually kind of done, but they'll be working their way in the Madison and higher up into the Box Canyon. And golden stones, when in doubt, don't. This is a very underrated hatch. We do salmon flies, but a golden stone's a very fantastic fly that pretty much bleeds into hoppers, and they'll eat it even as a hopper. And then really you can see pretty sparse and nerdy flies, but that's what I like to fish. And then a rubber leg. You can't go wrong So, and then spinners and a flav hatch is unique to that region. That's a hatch that we don't expect very many people to be very familiar with, but it's a bigger PMD is kind of what it looks like, meets a blue wing olive or small green drake, if any of that made any sense to you. But lots of cool stuff going on. You guys are going to have a great time, and we don't expect you to know every single pattern, and just know you have lots of resources to help you and get you set up.
Awesome. And I don't know if Christy's on. I know she wasn't on to introduce herself. So again, just you're seeing kind of a common theme here: parachute, elk-hair caddis, Pat's rubber legs, a chubby Chernobyl, zebra midges, Mercury baetis, speedhead prince nymphs, lime trudes. Definitely add a few lime trudes in there, foam wing parachute Adams, and a BH caddis larva. So some of your mayflies, some of your stoneflies, your caddis. And, really at the end of the day, it's a lot of these different names may not make any sense. And in all reality, the names of flies are just the artistic expression of the designer. So take, when you go back and you have a couple of months, do a little research, put in the names of what these specific flies are, and then click on images and just look at what the flies look like. Then open up your fly boxes and just see if you have something similar, or support, your local fly shop or one of the fly shops that are listed on our, on the specific website in the area, and just buy some flies from them. So it's always a great idea to go in, shop small, and support your local fly shops, especially in the areas. I saw that Alice is on. I don't know, Alice, do you want to do a quick intro and any other suggestions for flies that everyone should know about?
Yes, thank you. I apologize for being late.
Oh.
I'm guiding with Warriors in Quiet Waters, and we just had a very long day and drove back, and I just zipped into town and got on my computer. But thank you. I've caught the end of some of the fly presentations, which are great. And I guess I don't remember who said this, but I think it's a good point that I guess I should introduce myself. I'm a fly fishing guide and outfitter. I live in West Yellowstone, and this will be my 23rd summer guiding in the West Yellowstone area on the Madison and in Yellowstone National Park. So, and I unfortunately will be gone this weekend that you're having this event. My dad is turning 80 years old, and I need to be there. We all need to go to those happy, positive, fun celebrations for the family. So this is the time, unfortunately, I'm going to be gone. I'll be around right before it and right afterwards, but hopefully I'll see a few of you on the water. So a couple things about the fishing. I think Carly alluded to this earlier, just when that water's coming down on the Madison, it is an exciting time. And there's a number of different bugs that'll be coming off. And I think all of these lists have kind of hit on a bunch of those. And, always having a few heavy nymphs in your box that you can fish that dry dropper rig. And don't be surprised if you see a fish come up and eat your dry fly. I've had, when the water's coming down, really starting to focus on where those fish should be living. The water clarity will be improving, looking for that slow water where a fish is likely to live. There's a really good chance they're going to eat some of the most ridiculous things out of your box. I mean, an elk-hair caddis is awesome, but it doesn't have to be super small. Like I've had them eat just crazy small stoneflies, attractors, things with legs. I mean, think about the eating season for a trout, especially this year or the last 2 summers. Our summers are short, really. I mean, the feeding season for a fish on the surface is relatively short. And when that water comes into shape, fish are going to eat. They're going to be hungry. And like Heather said, I wouldn't be too concerned about, oh my gosh, I don't have the exact pattern in that size. Throw something out there you have confidence in, make sure your tippet's fresh, and pay attention. You could really have a good time fishing a lot of the slicks on the Madison, that slower water behind the rocks. Fish a number of different flies, try different things. I think you'll be surprised what fish will eat. It's good to have a basic, pattern list here, but I think the Madison's going to fish well that time of year. I agree with what Carly Rowland said too. It's a great time of year. Everything is fishing well. I feel like it's the time to be in West Yellowstone because every direction you drive, there's a pretty good chance you're going to have good fishing or be able to catch fish on some body of water in almost every direction. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
sorry, I'm not going to be there for the whole thing.
I know. Well, we'll see you for some of it. But yeah, and it's such a great location because there are so many, there's big rivers, there's small rivers, there's tributaries. And the great thing is we can bring a large group of people and still be conservation minded and not overrun one specific river. So, and there's a lot to do in Yellowstone as well as just West Yellowstone itself. There's a lot of touristy things too. And if you like to hike or whatever, there's a lot to do in the specific area.
So the next thing that we're going to do is go over some leader examples. So these leader examples will be what you'll use in the June time area for the West Yellowstone, the Madison River, the Henry's Fork River, all of the different tributaries into that area. The only thing that we ask is that you please only use these leader examples for personal use. Please do not distribute them for any other type of use. The first one we're going to talk about is just a dry fly leader. So this is just a single dry fly leader, anywhere from 7.5 to 15 feet, 3X to 5X tapered leader. The one thing I'll say is you want to just make sure that that specific leader can turn over the fly. So if you have a larger chubby Chernobyl or a larger foam fly, you're going to need a larger diametered tippet, usually larger and shorter, so that way that can turn over that fly. You can then also do a hopper dropper setup. This is a pretty popular setup here in the Western Montana or West Yellowstone Montana area. So here you would have just a hopper here, and that would be your point fly. Then attached to it would be a dropper. You could have that as either a dry fly and or a subsurface fly. This you want to have like 2X to 4X, making sure that your diameter is thick enough that it can actually turn over that fly. Now, as far as the suggestion goes for the dropper length, you want to just make sure that it's something that you're not getting tangled up in. And again, I'm always thinking about where within the water column am I fishing. So if I need this stonefly here, this Pat's rubber leg with a bead head, if I need to fish that at the very bottom of the river and you are trying to figure out what the depth of the water is, then you're going to probably go to 48 inches. So a really long dropper. So again, you're just trying to always think about where you're going to be fishing your flies within the water column. And that's going to then help you choose what length for your dropper flies. You can also swing a wet emerger. So a lot of times just before the height of the hatch happens, all of the insects, whether it's a caddis pupa and or mayfly emergers, are starting to emerge to become adults. So that means that in kind of the upper to middle portion of the water column, a lot of insects are starting to move up into that area. And so this is a great time where you can take just a straight up 9-foot tapered leader. It could be 4X, 5X, just tie on a non-slip loop knot to some sort of a wet fly, a wet emerger, a soft hackle, and then just basically cast that down at a 45-degree angle and just let it swing. You'll know when the fish eat that fly. Here's some just suggestions for subsurface leaders. There's different ways that you can actually set these up. So first one is just a unweighted subsurface fly. This is a Pat's rubber leg, also imitating a stonefly nymph. You can have a couple of pieces or a couple of split shots to help get that fly down. You can then also use a heavy fly. So you could have a tungsten bead or some sort of a weighted fly. So that'd be your point fly. And then you can have a dropper fly that's attached to the hook bend. And or you can have a tag end, so you can have a subsurface fly that's going to be weighted, and then you have a tag end. Here you're going to tie on a double sturgeon knot or whatever your tippet knot is. You're going to keep that tag end pretty long, anywhere from really 6 to 12 inches, and that's where you're going to tie on your second fly. This right here would be a great time to tie on some sort of an emerger or wet emerger, especially right before the height of the hatch. An example here where you have a beaded, this is a stonefly nymph, so it's going to be pretty heavy. It's going to be fishing in the bottom part of the water column. And then here's your soft hackle, and this is where you're going to be fishing in the middle part of the water column. Here's just some examples, some leader examples of double surface leaders. And so here you can see this is with the tag end. And again, all of these lengths are suggestions. So you have your point fly that's pretty heavy. You have your dropper fly. And then here you have just your your point fly, and then your dropper fly is going to be attached to the hook bend. And then finally, don't be afraid to either slow swing, strip, dead drift, or dead jig any type of streamers. So this is a great protein for the fish, and fish definitely eat aquatic insects, aquatic bait fish, sculpins, leeches, all kinds of other things that are in the water as well.
Conservation considerations. As far as conservation considerations, we've already talked about having a location where we can all be that's going to be good to the fish, but also United Women Love Fly, we are advocates for Keep Fish Wet. So I think it's really important to talk about some different Keep Fish Wet tips. So first and foremost, wet bare hands are best. Take off your gloves. If you're wearing gloves and or even sun gloves, fish do have a protective layer. And so anytime you adhere anything other than a wet bare hand, it can remove some of that protective layer and cause injury and damage, bacteria to the fish. So wet bare hands is best. And sometimes too, not every fish needs to be taken a photo of. So, keeping it in the net and then just using hemos and releasing it, you can get some really rad photos and videos of the release of the fish. I shoot in 4K on my video, and then I have a video to photo app where I can grab a frame of that video. So you can get a lot of really cool content without even touching the fish. And so it's just better and less stress on the fish. Minimize your air exposure. So science has shown that 10 seconds or less, that fish can science out of the water either 10 seconds or less. And this is accumulative. So if you take it out, you lift it up, take it down. So it is an accumulative amount of time. Hold the net under your fish. Not only a net looks aesthetically beautiful in a photo, but also if this is the fish of a lifetime and the fish are slippery, then making sure that you can maybe catch it under the water is a good choice. If you are fishing from a boat and it's safe, so I think safety is definitely a consideration here, a big consideration. Leaning over the boat rather than holding your fish in the boat, because I will say I've dropped more fish than I'd like to admit in a boat. So I think just being more mindful of that. If it is the fish of a lifetime and it is safe, just maybe ask if you can pull over and anchor again, if it's safe, to get that shot of the fish, however you choose. Another great suggestion is, as an angler, photos just look better as if you lean down, if you're able to, if you're physically able to kind of take a knee or kneel down. As the photographer, have that person also kneel down and kind of be on that same level. It just looks way better and way less awkward. So just a great suggestion. And, fish are beautiful. So photograph the tails, the scales, the eyeballs, like all the things, right? If you get a big dorsal fin or its colors, so looking at that. And it's a great way to take selfies too, of just your hand with the fish in the water. And it's less time that the fish would be out of the water for taking pictures. And think outside the box. So this is my friend Heidi Lewis. We fear no fruit, so we will eat bananas. She actually has a tattoo of bananas, so she always brings bananas on her boat. But, thinking about just casting photos and different, the community and the laughter and the friendships that we're all making, thinking about all of that as well. And I am a sucker for, D-loops, but I'm a sucker for any casting or rod bend photos. So if you're with me, I'll probably be laying on the ground and taking some funky angles, but that's what I like to do. Be prepared to smile if you're going to be fishing with me. And then COVID policy. So I know we're probably all sick of COVID. I get it. But as a critical care nurse, I can tell you that it still exists and there are still sick patients and people out there. So just being mindful that, if you do test positive and or have symptoms, we just ask, that you don't come on this. We want to make sure that this is safe for everybody. And then finally is a disclaimer kind of about this weekend is, this whole weekend, we want to make sure that this is an unforgettable weekend for all. And really our mission is to foster a sense of belonging and for everybody. And so we want to provide the education, the resources, and just this way and community and weekend that people feel welcome. So if there's any drama of any kind, y'all come to me and I'll take care of it. So we want it to be fun, empowering, encouraging. Know that no questions are dumb. Like, we just want to build this, unforgettable weekend for you all. So I encourage you all to also share those same sentiments and same feelings as well. As far as contact goes, you can reach out to me. I would say your first form of contact would definitely be the Facebook group. Kind of been reading some of the different chats and seeing, that people want to share boats and or walk and wade guides, or they just want to walk and they need a partner to walk and wade. I would say just utilize the Facebook group, that Montana actual Fish and Hang Facebook group. And that's where you can really start to develop your fishy plans. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me, info@UnitedWayOnTheFly.com. You can also, if you have my phone number, you can text or call me or DM me via Instagram or Facebook. I'll get back to you. It may take a day or so if I'm, busy or on the water, but I'll definitely get back to you and help answer any of your questions. I'm going to stop my share, and any additional questions or anything, please feel free to reach out. Please, if you are considering a guide, think about hiring and empowering our amazing women that are given their time tonight and to be a part of this. Reach out with any additional questions. And thank you so much to everyone who joined, but especially to all of the lead local women in the area. I am very grateful that you all are a part of this and that you're here, that you help, just share your knowledge and shared your fly suggestions. It means so much. And it's so awesome for me to see so many incredible women that are guiding and sharing your knowledge and just being those mentors to the future and to all of us as women anglers. So thank you so much for just being a part of this. It's greatly appreciated.